Do you feel uncomfortable with Finya coming to work here? The question made Busia look up at her advisor, who had returned to work after completing cooperation documentation abroad. Finya, in turn, was set to take on the role of principal researcher at the institute, in addition to being the postgraduate supervising professor. Uncomfortable, me? Busia replied, surprise slightly evident in her voice. I agree with whatever you decide, Professor. I'll try to keep the research projects separate, then. Each of you does your work, and if you need anything, come talk to me directly. You don't need to go through Finya. I have no problem with that. Whatever you decide, it's fine with me, she answered calmly. Hearing that makes me feel at ease, said Professor Nasara, smiling with clear relief. So, regarding the position of vice principal, which we discussed before your graduation, have you decided whether you're going to accept it? Vice principal? Bua repeated the question with a slight hint of hesitation. She had almost forgotten about the offer her advisor had mentioned before her graduation. Advancing so quickly in her career had its benefits, especially since she was about to turn 34 or 35. If she accepted the position, she could accumulate teaching hours and publish research quickly, potentially qualifying for a more prestigious academic position. But, what for? She wasn't sure what the purpose was. She didn't see anything particularly special about taking the position beyond what she was already doing. More importantly, Bua valued her time off. Besides you, Bua, I don't see anyone else for the position, the professor argued. Among all the students, Bua's name always came to mind first for such opportunities. You are the most qualified. I had already prepared the documents before I went to Panama. All that's left is for you to accept. I just graduated, Bua replied, divided. I don't think it would be appropriate. I still have little experience. I think the professor is forgetting someone. Busia paused, observing her advisor's confused expression. Finya, she said. The professor's expression showed surprise. But Finya graduated after you. Just a few months. I think Finya would be more suitable. If you want to attract more attention to this area, I believe Finya would be a better representative than me, who just stays locked in the laboratory. Besides, she played a bigger role in creating the institute. In fact, I think the professor should have thought of her first. You're exaggerating. At that time, Finya hadn't decided to come back yet, so I put you as the first option, Nasara replied, trying to encourage her. You and Finya have different specialties in prehistoric physical anthropology. I believe you are my first option. As for Finya, she is more focused on the historical period. That's how I had planned things. Let Finya take this position, Professor. It doesn't matter if she graduates earlier or later. I'm not as good at coordination as she is. I think she's better suited, Bua replied. Are you sure? Yes, Bua answered firmly and confidently. Besides, Finya just got back. For those who are new or don't know the environment well, it will be easier to respect Finya as someone you trust. I, on the other hand, already know everyone here, so that's not a problem for me. If you think so, I'll respect your decision, Bua. In that case, you can take over as head of the lab. Lab head? Bua repeated, surprised. She had just avoided one position and was already being pushed into another. Is that a good idea? Of course it is, her advisor replied with conviction. It's decided, then. Okay, Bua said reluctantly. Given the insistence, there was no way around it. She just wanted to be a simple researcher with time to rest occasionally, but her responsibilities were eating up all her free time. Before she could say anything else, there was a knock on the office door, followed by Finya's entrance. She closed the door behind her. Come in, Finya, said the director. Upon seeing her, Bua stood up. Excuse me, Professor, I'm going. She clasped her hands in a gesture of respect, bowing to the advisor and starting to leave. As she passed Finya, she felt her colleague approaching until their hands lightly touched. This made Bua look at her, their eyes meeting through the square lenses of Finya's glasses, which were shining. Embarrassed, Bua quickly lowered her head. In doing so, she stumbled, almost falling over her chair, but she quickly adjusted it. Sorry, Bua said to her advisor as Finya moved closer. I couldn't sleep well last night. Are you okay, Bua? Finya asked in a whisper, dressed in a smart black suit. I am, Bua replied shortly, then hurried out of the room. Professor, did you call me for something? Finya asked as she closed the door. Yes, I have something to talk to you about, the professor replied. Finya, you're the reason I haven't been sleeping much lately, Bua thought. From now on, if there's any more trouble, you'll be the one to take responsibility. A few minutes later, a knock on the door of the future vice principal's office interrupted Dr. Finya Thananan, who was immersed in reading a recently published scientific article. She looked up and called the visitor to come in. It was Professor Nasara, her advisor, and now her direct superior, holding a brown envelope in her hands. Appointment documents, said the middle-aged woman, placing the envelope in front of Finya, who stood up and bowed politely. You could have called me up, Professor, Finya said. My legs are still fine, don't worry. I can still come down and meet you, Nasara replied with a smile, making her former PhD student laugh lightly. Officially welcome, Dr. Finya. Thank you very much, Professor, Finya replied with a grateful smile. I'm glad you came back to help us. I thought you would stay there forever, especially with the professor wanting to keep you as long as possible, the advisor said as she sat down, and Finya did the same in her office chair. No, Professor, Finya replied, now officially vice principal. I always knew that my home is here. Those words brought a sincere smile to the advisor. It's good to hear that from you, the professor said with an affectionate look. I confess that at first, I thought you would give the position to Bua. Finya commented, noticing her boss's appraising look for a brief moment. I won't hide anything from you, Nasara said, looking at her former student. I talked to Bua, but she refused. Really? Finya replied in surprise. Yes, Professor Nasara nodded. Bua said you would be more suitable. That revelation made Finya smile involuntarily, feeling her face heat up for no apparent reason. But I graduated after her, Finya argued. She said it doesn't matter. She thinks you represent the institute better and have more capacity to attract new generations to this area. I had no idea Bua thought that way about me. I have no doubts about either of you. You both have always worked hard, and for me, it doesn't matter who holds the position. I trust both of you completely. In fact, you are students of whom I am deeply proud. Those words brought to Finya's mind something Bua had said when they had met for the first time in 2 years during dinner. Now, hearing the same thing from her advisor's mouth, Finya's heart raced. It was exactly as Bua had said. Since Bua sees things that way, I respect her decision, said the advisor. I'm glad to know that she thinks so. We all know that you two had a troubled past. Don't worry, Professor. I don't hold any grudges anymore, assured Finya. I'm sure Bua doesn't either. In the past, we were just young people competing to stand out in the field, nothing more. You two really stood out, praised the teacher. And now, how are things? For me, these issues are no longer important, Finya replied sincerely. There are much more important things now. I am relieved to hear that, said the advisor, standing up. Finya followed suit. Congratulations once again, Finya. Thank you very much, Professor, she thanked her, bowing with a smile. Then, excuse me. I have to go now. After the advisor left, Finya went to the institute's secretary. Aeon, where is Bua? Bua is in the laboratory. Today, the master's students are participating in a workshop on how to clean bones that will be exhibited. Okay, said Finya, placing the coffee on the secretary's desk. I bought coffee and some sweets. I have something for you too. And please keep Bua's in the fridge. Do you need anything urgent, Fi? I can call her for you. No, you don't have to. I just wanted to leave the gifts. Oh, congratulations on the new position. Thank you very much, Finya said. As soon as things calm down, I'll arrange a celebratory dinner. The secretary smiled and nodded in agreement. Actually, I wanted to discuss something with Finya, Aeon said, causing Dr. Finya to raise an eyebrow. What is it? Finya asked. I plan on applying for a PhD next year. Would it be possible to have you as my co-advisor? Would that be a problem? Have you spoken to Finya about it? Yes, I did a few days ago. She suggested I talk to you to see if you might be interested and mentioned that you might be a better fit for the role. So Finya said that? Finya asked, and Aeon nodded in response. Finya mentioned that you have more experience, better connections, and perhaps could send me on a field trip to gain practical experience. And also that she is more rigorous, Aeon explained. She said that if I had Finya as my advisor, it might take me more than 5 years to finish, as you don't usually rush your students. So she's trying to pass the work on to me, Finya thought. How many years do you intend to take to complete it? I'm not in a hurry. I already have a job here, Aeon explained. But also, I don't want to take too long. 7-8 years would be too much. Then send me a study plan for review, Finya said in a serious tone, lifting her coffee for a sip. Specify how many years you intend to take to complete it, the type of research you want to do, if you intend to go to the field or to which country. I'll check if there are any vacancies available for you with my colleagues. And if you're thinking about doing a postdoctorate, include that as well. Of course. But I'm thinking about doing the postdoctorate right here, Aeon replied. Do you have any suggestions of a field where I could go? She asked. Finya seemed thoughtful. If you go to desert areas, you'll have to walk long distances, or if you go to burial areas, you might face a lot of bandits. If you really want to go, it's good to prepare your body and learn how to defend yourself or even use weapons. Bandits? Aeon asked, curious. Do you know how much a well-preserved mummified body of a nobleman is worth? Not to mention the adornments or treasures that may be inside, Finya explained. Aeon's eyes widened, and her face showed surprise. There are more rich people obsessed with these things than you can imagine. Why would anyone keep bodies at home? Aeon asked, perplexed. To bring good luck and prosperity. It's a belief from ancient times, said the new vice principal. But to make things even more macabre, some people used these bodies to make medicines. Aeon's expression was one of disgust when she heard this. I'm serious, Finya confirmed. But I recommend that if you are interested in primate behavior, evolution, or anatomical structure of the genus Homo and prehistoric humans related to adaptation or migration for survival, Finya is more specialized in these subjects. I'm more in the historical field. Even though I work in ancient anthropology, I'm not as specialized in prehistory or extinct ancestral species as Finya suggested. Finya must be a species of Homo erectus or reincarnated Neanderthal, Finya joked, and Aeon laughed lightly at the joke. Think about it. Okay, Aeon said. When you decide, write a plan and send it to me. I'm willing to be your co-advisor. Now, I have to go, Finya said before leaving. Yes, thank you very much. Aeon replied, nodding before walking away. However, less than 5 minutes later, Busia walked in through the opposite door. Finya was looking for you just now, Aeon informed. Oh, really? I was about to borrow your phone to call her, Finya replied. Is there a problem? Aeon asked, noticing Bua's worried expression. Bua had already picked up the phone and started dialing. Dr. Finya, please come to the lab on the 3rd floor. There was a problem with the equipment, Bua said before hanging up. Here's the coffee Finya brought for you, Aeon said, holding out the coffee cup. Busia frowned as she looked at the cup of coffee Aeon offered her. What could have put Finya in such a good mood today? Busia wondered, bringing the coffee cup to her lips. The bitter taste seemed to bring a sense of freshness. I'm going to leave now. I have urgent work. When she gets here, ask her to come after me. Thank you very much, Busiah said.